Hey everyone, how's it going? Back again with another video this week. I hope everyone has had a great weekend. My weekend was super busy with lots of family stuff going on and races and competitions for me and my kids. And my wife was the real champ of the weekend, shuffling everyone around all weekend, keeping everyone organized. So it was a total team effort for us. Super busy weekend, but everyone did great in all their physical endeavors, which is awesome to see. Actually, what I wanted to chat a little bit about today was something related to physical activity, and that is a topic that came up in my group coaching session last week, which last week was week 3 of my group coaching program. And week 3 is all about sleep. And one of the participants in the group had brought up the fact that he has seen an improvement in his sleep purely due to the fact that he has become more physically active. And so this kind of was something that I think is greatly overlooked when we talk about improving people's sleep quality and sleep quantity. We try to, I think some of the biggest struggles that people have that really negatively impacts their health is around sleep. And if sleep is no good, then we see everything else fall apart: diet, stress, energy levels, mood, digestion. It's really just honestly one of the linchpins of people's health, and is also one of the harder things to troubleshoot because it's such a multifactorial problem when people have poor sleep. And the reason is partially a good thing and a bad thing is that everything interplays with each other. Our sleep affects our food, but our food also affects our sleep. So a compound problem, right? Same thing with physical activity and exercise. Physical activity, our sleep can negatively impact our physical activity and exercise. And also the lack of physical activity and exercise can negatively impact our sleep. So it's these kind of vicious cycles that we can get stuck into when it comes to sleep and some other health practice. But I think a lot of people just under appreciate the impact that physical activity and movement in general has on promoting good sleep. And it's really just a very simple mechanism, right? It doesn't have to be overly complicated or super scientific as to why. But if you're a parent or have young children in your lives, how critical sleep is for not only you, but your child. And if your child doesn't get good sleep, then your day is pretty much ruined and your night is pretty much ruined. So, getting good sleep for your child really just helps tremendously. And we also know that if we observe little kids, that the best way to make them fall asleep and to stay asleep and to have a good night's sleep is to just wear them out. I can't tell you the number of times where I've been like, oh, I'm just going to take my kid and I'm going to just have them do something crazy physical all day long, or they just happen, you have the really busy day where they're just constantly running around, moving their bodies, outside or something like that. And they just sleep like a rock that night, and it's magical. And parents can use this to their advantage. They'll be like, oh, well, I really want my kids to sleep, so I'm just going to wear them out today. And you'll just make every effort possible to keep them moving throughout the day. So they're just physically active. And we apply that to children, but we completely forget that adults have physical activity can have the same effect on them. And I think a lot of people perhaps suffer with sleep issues today because a lot of people are also not physically active. And so this participant in my group coaching program, he had mentioned he had just increased his steps a moderate amount to that 7 to 10,000 range. And he's seen dramatic improvements in his sleep since doing that. And that's just purely I didn't want to dive into all the magical reasons, but I said to him, I said, it's purely just because you're tired, right? From physical activity makes you tired. Movement makes you tired. Exercise makes you tired. We forget how good we can sleep after we've done a hard day of physical activity. It's just amazing. Some of the best sleep you'll ever get is when you completely exhaust yourself. And our society isn't really set up for that anymore. Most of us don't have physically demanding jobs. It used to be that people did a lot of manual labor and they'd come home just physically exhausted. Like they didn't have to go to the gym because their whole day wasn't a training session. And very few people have that type of job today. And I think that lack of physical activity that humans got just a few hundred years ago or further back when we had to hunt and gather and build physical shelters and, spend hours upon hours tracking animals and digging for food and gathering berries and whatever we could do to survive, or even just migrating from one fertile place in our habitat to another fertile place in our habitat due to changing seasons or whatever. Like all that stuff was just part of just living and surviving, and it's been taken away from us. And I think when you think about people thousands of years ago, and they didn't have these magical sleeping environments that we have today. They just slept on the ground in some makeshift bed type of situation. I certainly couldn't sleep in that type of situation. But if I had been physically active all day and I just fully exhausted, I'd sleep on the floor and be fine. So how else are you going to sleep unless you were physically exhausted? But in a more serious note, I think that whatever we can do to get physical activity into our day, whether it's walking or biking or getting in that training session or playing a game, a sport with our kids, or going to a community fitness club or a class or something like that, or just taking your Zoom calls or phone calls, walking during the day. Whatever we can do to just be more physically active is going to help promote better sleep for us. And then that can have a very positive impact because once we start sleeping good, then we have the energy to be more physically active. One of the struggles that a lot of people have is that how do you break the cycle? I'm tired, so I don't have the energy to be physically active. And so I can't really get out of the cycle of just poor sleep, poor energy, no physical activity. How do I deal with this? And so you have to start somewhere, right? You're either going to start on the physical activity side or start on the sleep side. So you're either going to give yourself the opportunity to improve your sleep in order to get more energy to then be more physically active. Or what I think is probably the easier solution for most people, because it's hard to figure out how to improve your sleep, is to be physically active even though you're tired. And so I'm not talking about you have to be physically active in the sense that you need to go do a very hard CrossFit training session, or you need to go on a super hard run or the super hard hike or anything like that. I'm just talking about in the beginning, you're just trying to break the cycle. All you're really going to need to do is just get outside and walk. Get those 7,000 to 10,000 steps a day. Or if you're at 2,000 steps a day, get 5,000 steps a day. Do something that is a little bit more than what you're currently doing physically, and you're going to physically exhaust yourself, which is going to promote better sleep. When you get the better sleep, then you're going to have more energy, and you could do something a little bit harder. So the cycle then turns it from a negative feedback cycle to a positive feedback cycle once you start to break the cycle first. But you have to break the cycle first. And I think the best way to break that cycle is to really just try to get some movement in, even though you're completely physically, you might be pretty tired from the lack of sleep, because it's just going to help you sleep better. And then you're going to get more energy. You'll be able to do more physical activity, improve your sleep even more. You have more energy to do more physical activity. And now you're really got the ball rolling in the right direction as opposed to the ball rolling in the wrong direction. So that's the message I just wanted to give you today. Think about if you're struggling with your sleep, take a look at your physical activity. If you're lacking in physical activity because you're struggling to get good sleep because you don't have the energy, I think the best way to do is to just find some way to muster up a little bit of energy to go be a little bit physically active. Just try to do a little bit more than you have been doing, nothing crazy, so that you can get yourself a little bit more tired to get a little bit better sleep, to then get a little bit more energy, to then do a little bit more physical activity, to then further improve your sleep, to then get more energy and to really start the ball rolling in the right direction. So if you found this content useful, please let me know in the comments. If you have questions or comments or thoughts, please let me know. Leave a comment below. As always, if you want to keep up with all the content that I'm putting out on a weekly basis, whether it's these videos, blog posts, just short newsletters, or be up to date when the next group coaching program starts, or you're looking for one-on-one coaching, the best way to really keep up with all the things happening from a coaching perspective for me is to go and sign up for my newsletter. You can go to rjbhealth.coach, click on the newsletter tab at the top, enter your email address, and you'll be signed up for the newsletter. As always, if you are looking for more individualized coaching, I do have a couple one-on-one spots open. So if you're interested in that, again, go to my website, rjbhealth.coach, click on the schedule discovery call button right on the homepage and fill out the form, and I can get back to you and we chat a little bit more about that.